And we're back, okay? Now we're back with cosine, all right? And the nice thing is graphing cosine is a lot like graphing sine, except our 5 points just appear in a different order. So we're going max, intercept, min, intercept, and max, okay? So what two transformations do I have here? Looks like I have an amplitude change, okay? And it looks like I have a downshift. So what that's going to do is that's going to reset my x-axis. So that downshift of 1, I'm going to go ahead and plot that first. That resets the x-axis. My new midline. Okay. And then I go ahead and start graphing. So important here, though, is the fact that it starts at a max. So I got to be on it right away. So instead of this new origin here, I'm going to be 2 above that because I'm starting at a max. Okay, which means I end at a max. Okay, so again, 8 blocks away is pi here, or 2 pi, excuse me, so I can count 8 blocks if I want, but because I didn't have a horizontal shift, I can go straight to 2 pi and plot my last point. First point first, last point next. Then I go to a minimum. Now, we got to be careful here. There's a tendency to put that on the new x-axis, but remember, it's 2 below that, right? The minimum has to be below the midline. Okay, the midline should cut the graph in half. Halfway between the max and the min is going to be an intercept. That's my next point. And then halfway between these two is going to be an intercept, and that's this point. All right, and then I want to make sure as I draw that curve that I do draw it as a curve, the best that I can. And that will be my cosine curve. Obviously, I can continue that pattern, okay, into the negative region if I have the space to do so. In this case, I do. And just remember what some of these pieces mean, right? The amplitude means that there should be 2 blocks in between the midline and your max, 2 blocks in between the midline and your min, okay? All right, let's skip ahead here to a tougher one that has a bunch of shifts in it. How about this one right here? Okay, so what do we got here? Well, we have an amplitude of -2. That's good. It's going to flip my points. I have a horizontal shift of right pi, and I have a vertical shift of down 1, or excuse me, down 1, come on, up 1. So let's start with that vertical shift up 1. That's my midline, my new x-axis. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that. Okay, and then I have a right pi shift. So I'm going to go to the right pi. And that's my new y-axis. So essentially here, I have a brand new origin for this graph, right? It's right here. That's important. Everything's coming off of that place. Okay, so I'm graphing -2 cosine. So remember here, because it's negative, normally, right, I'd have max, intercept, min, okay, intercept, max. But because it's negative, everything is flipped. So I'm going to go min, intercept, max, intercept, min. Okay, so I'm starting with a minimum below that new origin, up below 2, right, because it's -2 out in front there. Okay, and now if I look at this, I can't plot my last point, right, because it should be 2 pi away, okay, which is 8 blocks. So just like when we graphed in algebra 1, if I don't have room on my grid, okay, to go this direction, then I simply go backwards. Same idea. And this is a periodic function, so it's exactly the same thing. So I'm going to go backwards 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that gives me my last point. Okay, so I have my max, and I have my max both graphed. Whoop, excuse me, I won the orange one here. The min and the min. All right, halfway between those two should be my max. So I count 4 blocks in, and I'm going to go 2 above the midline, because remember the midline has to cut the graph in half. And then I have my intercept and my intercept halfway in between each of those, and make sure when I draw this I give it some curve. And this is a small detail, but when you graph your cosine curves, I get a little picky about this. There's a tendency to bring this curve down here, okay, you know, to bring this curve down here and put some sort of arrow that goes off into space down here. Don't do that, right? Because we know that this point right here is the minimum, which means when we hit that point, okay, our graph should be going back up. So I would like to see that in your graphs, please. I know it's small and it's picky, but that's what I would like to see whenever you graph these here. Okay, so there's a couple more there for you to do, and check your answers with the key.